For years, young people being detained along our southern border have reported being sexually abused at the hands of both fellow detainees as well as U.S. guards. And even though things are getting worse, this behavior did not originate during the Trump administration, as everybody would like to say. As plenty of past leaders have completely ignored this problem. Farron Cousins from Trial Lawyer Magazine is with me now to talk about it. Farron, the numbers are staggering. 4,500 reports, allegations, clearly allegations of sexual abuse. If you look at this story, though, I'm hearing the same response that we heard under Obama. Obama had the same problem. Yep. Bush before him had the same problem. And the argument is always that it's not the HHS employees, they're subcontractors in each state that are the problem. What is your take on this story?
That's kind of the same thing we hear about, anytime there's bad things that the government does or bad things are happening for government employees is, oh, no, it's our private contractors. It's the private prison guards. It's the private mercenaries over in Iraq, the private contractors ripping us off. And now HHS says the same thing here. And the common thread is these contractors that we're hiring to do these jobs, whether it is make sure detainees aren't getting raped or deliver goods overseas, it's always the private contractors that are no good.
Here's what happens, and we've seen it in every one of the stories you described. If they're always looking, these contracts we're talking about are always giveaways. They're political giveaways. Yep. And so they at one hand they want to say, well, we're not really responsible. It was, some subcontractor. No, you are responsible because these are big gifts and big giveaways. People are making a lot of money. And if you can't hire people that are qualified to do it, that's your problem. But right now, I got to tell you, this is a big problem. But I want to point out, this has been a big problem for a long time. And as much as we talk about about Trump doing wrong, Obama, Bush did the same thing here, and they had the same problem and was never addressed.
Right. We had children locked in cages during the Obama administration along the southern border. We cannot overlook that, and we cannot give them a pass. It's been going on for too long, and now we're finding out the extent of the abuse, and each story that comes out is worse than the one before it. This takes the cake.
Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg is researching a new mind-reading technology which is going to allow users to use their thoughts to navigate intuitively throughout the augmented reality. Steve Malzberg joins us for this story, and no, this is not an Onion story. It's really happening. Steve, how this technology work? I had to do a triple read of the story. I know the technology certainly is there. We're finding that we're able to do a lot of biometric kind of things. But as this is developing, you listen to Mark Zuckerberg, and it sounds like it's way down the road. What's your take?
Well, it's being used for people with ALS. They're able to, some of them are able to type just by thinking, and that's what he envisions here. But I think he has more nefarious plans. It's not an implant. They don't put anything in into your head. This is interface that it reads your brain activity. You put on, it looks like a shower cap, okay, and it surrounds the brain, and it discovers connections between your thoughts and brain activity. And it also makes use of optical imaging technology and presumably, by the way, coincidentally, using glasses manufactured by Oculus VR, which is owned by Facebook. So, it's all kind of incestuous there, yeah.
As I saw, this story developed where Zuckerberg shows up at Harvard, and he's given a speech on the reality of technology. Where are we? Where is it going? How's it going to get better? And this is where he reveals this that he's been working on. And with so many Facebook innovations, Zuckerberg doesn't seem to see how brain-computer interface breaches individual integrity. And that came up in the where he gave the speech. A law professor said, we still have a Fifth Amendment. We don't want you in our heads. You're already following us around by phone, by iPad. My God, we can't get away from technology, and now you want to get right up in our head. What's your thoughts?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the red flags are just popping up all over the screen. They should be popping up in our heads as well. I mean, do you trust Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook when we know how our information has been shared and abused and they're spying on us and all that kind of stuff? Do you want them to know your thoughts? What's inside your head, the way, as you said, they do with smartphones and our computers? And then what happens? If your thoughts get out, we know that we risk our medical information getting out and all kinds of different things, but if they knew what you were thinking, would you be prosecuted? Would you be blacklisted? Would you lose your job? I mean, the possibilities are limitless, and they're all frightening.
Well, look, Facebook, they want to establish their own, what Zuckerberg calls his own Supreme Court. And let me tie this up a little bit. We all know that, as you point out, they're spying on us, they're following us, now they're making decisions about what we can say and what we can't say. If they're offended by what we say, they take it off the air. If they like what we say, then they promote it. So what we have is all of this type of censorship taking place. And so he was really assaulted with those talking points when he gave this speech at Harvard. And so his response was, well, I haven't been talking about this, folks, but I want to tell you something. He made this announcement. Facebook is going to have a Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court that I suppose he's going to appoint is going to deal with these thorny questions about what appears on the Facebook platform. Did you follow this? Did you follow this part of the story?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, he says, I don't want to make these decisions of censorship, or he didn't say censorship, what goes, what doesn't go. So he's appointing, or they're appointing, 40 people, independent experts that will decide if a given comment should stay or go, what's hate speech, what's hate, what's appropriate, every possible piece of censorship these 40 people will have. Now, are they going to go against what Zuckerberg thinks? And Zuckerberg's not going to play any role. He's not going to be the Chief Justice on this Supreme Court. He says no. So you're shifting power to a group put together by Facebook and Zuckerberg. I mean, there are 2.3 billion users. There are millions of cases every day. How could they even monitor this with 40 people? None of it makes sense.
Steve, I want to have you back on, and I want to analyze how the numbers are showing that millennials are just fine with this level of censorship. That in their mind, somebody should be making a decision about the things we think about. Thank you for joining me, Steve. We'll pick up this conversation again. This is an important message for our nation's veterans. If you served our country in the military between 2003 and 2015 and you suffered significant hearing loss, you might be entitled to compensation, because the hearing protection you were issued may be at fault for the damage you suffered, but you need to act now. Your time to make a claim might be limited. Learn more at levinlaw.com/earplugs.